Firework factory explosion 1991 has been recorded in history as the country's worst industrial disaster in Malaysia. It has equated with the Hiroshima explosion in Japan in 1945 as residents shook with the after effect of the explosion. Firework factory was located at Kampung Baru, Sungai Buloh, Selangor in agricultural area about 30 feet away from the residential area. This factory has been operated illegally for 16 years since the inception of the company until the date of the triggering of the tragedy in 1991. Report from the investigation stated that the company management breached the statutory regulation and rules of the country through the installation of a firework factory on agricultural land. On top of that, the company did not manufacture any license for operating the factory, importing raw material, storing of the explosive materials, and exporting the fireworks. The explosion was ignited by the activities of a product testing in the factory. The fire rapidly spread to the other part of the factory, causing a series of explosions. The blast destroyed 200 homes around the factory as well as windows around the Sungai Buloh area. Several factories, including animal feed factory, board factory, and food coloring factories nearby also caught fire. Dozens of vehicles, including cars and motorcycles, were destroyed. Based on the investigation, 23 dead bodies were found and 105 badly injured due to the explosion.
The tragedy is believed to have been caused by explosive chemical spill during an experiment in the canteen of the factory. The chemicals touched off fires that rapidly spread to a nearby pile of large firecrackers known as the buzzsaws. This in turn set off the chain of explosion that ripped apart the factory and the nearby buildings, including the factory and nearby Kampung Baru, Sungai Buloh. The management of the sparkles company has always been poor for years, and the tragedy was a result of an accumulation of error in the period estimated to be 16 years. So it is not uncommon that many fire accidents occur at the said factory due to this reason. It was reported that the management did not comply with most regulation that has been made by the authorities. Moreover, the lack of safety management, training and safety culture in the company's factories, such as storing the chemical finished and semi-finished product in every building, including the canteen area, were also contributing to the cause of tragedy. The fact that the company has such poor quality control inspection aggravated the cause as the fire was initiated by the person who was testing the firecracker in canteen. Thus, this showed that the Bright Sparkles Sdn Bhd company's management was the main cause behind the sparkles tragedy through the violation of the country rules, regulation and laws and the standard codes. However, the said company couldn't be solely blamed for the tragedy as the authorities were found to have so much laxity in enforcement of the regulation. It is known that the company was monitored and controlled by a lot of authorities. Despite a huge number of authorities that were supposed to inspect the manufacturing of the factory, some of the authorities have failed due to inspection deficiency. On top of that, the authorities with direct contact with the company's activity failed to enforce the law and to follow up the recommended action.
Most accidents follow three sequences of accident process, which is initiation, propagation, and termination. The initiation for a bright sparkle fire disaster is when the factory manager come chemist from Hong Kong, Lon Tat Heng, was testing out a new product of firecrackers in inadequate places near to chemical which were being tried in the canteen. The propagation of this incident is an explosive chemical from his experiment split and started fire that spread to the bazookas in the canteen. And the termination is when a chain of explosion happened which started from the canteen, and the third one is the largest explosion that could be felt 4 kilometers away from the factory. These are the actions taken by different parties during and after the incidents. There are a lot of actions should be taken by different parties to avoid any repetition on this disaster. Companies should examine the societal and environmental impact of their action and project, including the wise use and conservation of resources and energy to make informed recommendation and decision. There is no data recorded on the action taken by the employees to stop the explosion. The management should enforce a strict safety regulation in the workplace to ensure the safety of the workers as the factory handles toxic and flammable material. Furthermore, the report stated that the fire extinguisher provided were not enough to stop the fire at the explosion scene. Thus, safety equipment should be provided sufficiently. Other than that, authorities shall assign entities responsible for all related work which they prepare or directly supervise. Authorities should check company details carefully before approving any activities or operation to minimize misunderstanding that contribute to violating the laws. The concerned party should appoint a monthly checkup towards a specific company which handles toxic and hazardous material to ensure all the safety regulations are followed strictly by the company. Any violation in regulation should be sued at high price to increase the alertness of the company's management in complying the law.
The process hazard identifies the presence of material or energy having the potential for harm due to its inherent characteristics. In the case of bright sparklers incident, general material involved in fireworks making is black powder, also known as gunpowder. The black powder is unstable with presence of heat, sparks, and open flames. The chemicals are considered highly flammable and easy to ignite. For energy hazard, it came from the machineries installed due to its nature of having moving parts. The machineries installed also did not pass the inspection by the factory and machinery department due to faulty fencing items, and some new machineries were installed without approval. Without proper fencing and approval, this posed greater energy hazards. For chemical interaction hazard, the interaction of the sparks from the testing together with the dried flammable chemicals resulted in a fire. In this case, if the storage of materials were done accordingly, there would be no interaction between sparks and the chemicals, and this incident can be avoided. From the public point of view, this incident is certainly avoidable if certain government departments had performed their duties properly as required by legislation. The public also did not do their part in understanding the laws and knowing their rights as a worker or a resident. There were reports that incidents involving fireworks factories happened in the very same year before this incident. This prompted questions among the public whether the authorities carried out their work strictly or not. The victims' families later sued the government for mishandling the regulations and laws. After a string of investigations, Bright Sparklers Syndrome Berhad was deemed responsible for the incident by the Royal Commission of Inquiry. They were instructed to pay 30,000 ringgit to the victims in a lump sum and went bankrupt afterwards. However, no one was ever prosecuted in relation to the personal injuries or property damage suffered, or even the loss of lives of the factory workers and neighboring residents. Until the closing date of the case in 2006, the government made a payout of about 1 million ringgit in total to the affected residents. The aftermath of the incident saw the shutdown of firework industry and banning of firework factories around Malaysia. Hazmat unit in Fire and Rescue Service Department was created and new policies were passed in the parliament. The public welcomed these changes and supported the government's efforts for a safer working environment. With these changes, fire hazard from firework factories were eliminated, but the fire hazard from process hazard remains.
To conclude the presentation, we can say that all companies should follow the rules and the regulations of the country on operating their factories, importing the raw materials, and they have to have the license to prove their legality of operating their factories. Also, the responsibility should be taken by respective authorities seriously regarding all the activities that factories perform. They should provide appropriate recommendations to them from time to time. Another thing is that all imported fireworks should meet the safety standard and must be monitored carefully. Finally, we can say that the management department of the factories should maintain communication between them and the related authorities to guarantee that the safety program work smoothly.